A Seek Reality online member asked, "You describe two methods psychotherapists are using to help people have afterlife communications while in their offices. What are the two, and how are they different?" The two psychotherapy methods are being used today by hundreds of psychotherapists to help their patients have afterlife communication with the people for whom they're grieving while sitting in their offices. In this video, I explain the two and how one is more successful than the other. Hello, I'm Dr. R. Craig Hogan, President of the Afterlife Research and Education Institute and Seek Reality Online. I'm the author of 8 books with the evidence you will come to the end of this life, but you will never die. This person asked about the differences between the two psychotherapy methods hundreds of psychotherapists are using today to help their clients have afterlife communications that heal their grief in a single session. The two methods are Dr. Allan Botkin's Induced After-Death Communication and Rochelle Wright's Repair and Reattachment Grief Counseling. They're similar, but with profound differences. I co-authored books about the methods with each of these psychotherapists. Links to the books on Amazon are in the description below. Dr. Allan Botkin was a psychotherapist at the North Chicago Veterans Administration Hospital. He helped combat veterans have afterlife communications with their fellow soldiers killed in battle, and even enemy soldiers that they killed. The experiences healed their grief. He named the method Induced After-Death Communication, or IADC. The IADC method is classical eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR therapy. EMDR psychotherapy has been accepted as valid by the American Psychological Association and the Israeli Psychological Association. In Dr. Botkin's IADC procedure, the psychotherapist interviews the client, identifies the traumatic memories the client has of the person's death, has the client rate each on a 1 to 10 subjective units of disturbance, or SUDS scale, for the level of trauma or disturbance, and works with the client on each traumatic memory, starting with those with 10 scores. EMDR uses bilateral stimulation, usually with having the client watch the psychotherapist wave their hand left and right rhythmically. The client then closes their eyes and processes the memory. While their eyes are closed, the client may have a vivid afterlife communication with the person for whom they're grieving. When they open their eyes, they describe what happened and score the memory on the SUDS scale with a score of 1 to 10. The afterlife communication dramatically reduces the client's grief. The process is repeated until the score for each traumatic memory is 0 to 3 if possible. The sessions normally last 50 minutes. During that time, the psychotherapist goes through as many of the traumatic memories as possible. We reported in our book that Dr. Botkin's method was 70% successful in having clients experience something that is associated with the deceased. He later said he achieved a higher score in the 90%, but because of the time limit, he had to carry on the psychotherapy over several sessions because of this limit. The other method used using EMDR was developed by Rochelle Wright, a state-licensed psychotherapist in Washington State. Rochelle learned about IADCs by reading the book I co-authored with Dr. Botkin. She tried it out and found her clients were having afterlife communications with the people for whom they were grieving. However, she then improved on the protocol. Rochelle interviewed the client, scored traumatic memories with the 1 to 10 scoring SUDS scale, and used the hand movements as in traditional EMDR. But her additions to the protocol made all the difference. She started with a 10 score of traumatic memory and had the client process it with their eyes closed. When the client opened their eyes, Rochelle asked, "What happened?" and then repeated the key words of what the client described as she administered the next eye movements. She would say, "You saw your mother in the casket and you felt deep sadness. Stay with that and let's go back in." She would repeat that process without going on to the next traumatic memory, allowing the depth of the exploration of the single traumatic memory to build. Whatever the client experienced, she would restate it and allow the client to focus on the experience again. As a result, the client would go deeper into the traumatic memory until it developed into an afterlife communication. She allowed those in spirit to take over and guide the client. She kept going until the person in spirit indicated they were done communicating. At times, she would never get past the first traumatic memory, but the results were very powerful. 98% of her clients had successful connections, and their grief reduced to 0 to 3 in a single session. She didn't limit the time involved. She actually had one client go 8 hours with extended communication. I experienced both methods with Dr. Botkin and Rochelle Wright. Rochelle's guidance took me into an unbelievably powerful set of connections with various members of my family and with the team working with me on the other side of life. With Dr. Botkin, I experienced my grandmother calling my name, but that was all. You can learn more about each of these psychotherapy methods and the psychotherapists who are using them in the description below. These experiences are now being led by hundreds of psychotherapists. They're further evidence you will come to the end of this life, but you will never die.